and also Niche Chocolates. They have the gift pack that's available in different flavors, and so grab one and give it out to someone. In the studios this morning, Mr. Bernard Mona is here. He's a former chairman of the PNC, and today he's in a suit. I've never seen you in a suit. I actually like it.
But you requested for it.
I requested for it. I'm not sure I remember requesting for a suit necessarily. I just said I had only seen you in the fugu. So I was talking about you in a shirt last week.
Those of us who did deductive reasoning.
So I see. So you dressed because of me?
Yes, because you remember that when you were on stage with Asha, you made a profound statement that the wedding must take place that day.
Is this about Asha?
Yes. So I want him to know that if it comes to suit me too, I can wear something.
But he wasn't even in a suit when I was talking to him. You look well and you look nice, by the way. But you still had to spot your
Oh, no, if you want me to, I'll take it off just to...
It's not about me. Whatever makes you comfortable, please. Whatever makes you comfortable.
No, this is my signature.
I see.
And there is a lot of inspiration I take from those who have worn berets, from Che Guevara, from Hugo Chavez, Thomas Sankara, and the many others who have used berets. You will see that they are upright in their thinking and in their commitment to the continent that they represent. They have never wavered, and they have been bold and courageous. So I take inspiration from them, and the reason for which I wear these berets.
I thought you'd mentioned Julius Malema as one of the people. I guess you have your reservation.
No, I don't have any reservation. He is actually a good kid brother. Once in a while we communicate. Anytime I find myself in SA, we get. But he's a kid brother, and when he was in the ANC as their youth leader, I was the general youth leader of the People's National Convention, and somehow we met at various levels. And he is one of, I can say, the forthright Africans that I've come across. He doesn't mince his words on what he wants. He speaks it as it is. I was hoping that my other brother in Uganda will emulate, but in recent times I've seen that he's meddling with things that I do not think that he should. Anyway. He's meddling with Ukraine. He's talking about
let's leave it there.
About other people, and I'm like, no, you should be cautious because you cannot take away Russia.
I see. Let's leave it there. Now, of course, let's introduce our second guest this morning. He's a deputy national youth organizer for the NDC, Edem Agbana, and he's also always sporting a different colored kaftan. So today we're rocking white. The last time I saw you, I think it was blue or green, and I complimented you about it. You look nice. How you doing?
I'm fine, Bella. Thank you so
been?
much. Bella, I'm around, mostly in Ketu North, working on the grounds. I'm sure by now you are aware that I will be contesting for the parliamentary primaries. And hopefully in 2025, I'll be sworn in as Member of Parliament for Ketu North. And so I have been in the constituency working so hard to get an overwhelming victory when the primaries are organized. So I'm around, still working towards the party. Also, the NDC is going through reorganization. We are about to organize our constituency elections. I was deeply involved in the branch elections and also the vetting processes. As we speak, by 22nd, 23rd of this month, we'll have our constituency elections. And so let me use your platform to congratulate all those who have passed through vetting successfully and urge them to do clean and issue-based campaign. We need a united party in order to win power in 2024. I have always said that the people of Ghana will not forgive us if we don't put our house in order and secure victory in 2024, because where we are today, there is so much anxiety. Young people are depressed because of the abysmal performance of the Akufo-Addo government.
But which is why I'm surprised that you are moving on to become an MP hopeful, because you are the Deputy National Youth Organizer. Would have thought that you would try to contest for National Youth Organizer and still try to rally the young people within your party.
I think that the two people who so far have expressed interest in contesting for National Youth Organizer are two fantastic gentlemen. Any of them can handle the fort. And all those who aspire to be Deputy Youth Organizers, great guys and lady, and I think that they can also do the work. I believe also that the people in Ketu North deserve effective representation, especially as our MP, the Honorable Dr. James Kuche Abeji, who happens to be our deputy minority leader, also announced formally that he will not be contesting. It is important to give Ketunov effective representation in Parliament as well. That is why I decided to move there. But at a national level, I believe that everyone who has shown interest so far, Jude Sekle, Osman Ayariga, Ruth Sedo, Gombila, and the rest, they are all capable of handling the fort. And I will give them the support that they need to succeed.
We hear you. We hear you.
Yeah.
We're also expecting Issa Husseini. He's a former MP for Kankwe North. He represents the NPP. He's not in yet. And so if you're close to him, if you can reach him, please let him know that the conversation has started and we'll need him to be here, of course, to speak on behalf of the NPP. But let's move on.
My slave won against Issa. You know.
Your slave?
Yes.
I mean,
Teresa, I will.
She's your slave?
She's a slave.
What do you mean by that? So people don't misconstrue.
Oh, no. She's a slave. When it comes to Dagaba-Frafra relationship, the Frafras always come as slaves to the Dagaba.
I see. But that's historical, so I don't know if
Why,
we should still be using that tag
and you despise
in 2022.
history. We don't mean slavery in terms of the dehumanizing aspect of it. We take it that your grandchildren are seen to be the ones that will work for you, and therefore they are your slaves. And the Frafras also think that we, on the other hand, are their slaves. So you see that anytime a Frafra meets, and then there is a dog story in between.
I see. Maybe sometime we'll tell the story. But Issa is also very optimistic that he'll be able to win back that seat.
Bella, he can't beat Teresa. He should forget it.
He should forget?
Issa is my friend. He should forget it. Teresa will retain the seat.
Well, let's wait for Issa to come so he can tell us if he's going to forget.
But Bella, how come that the niche chocolate is not yet?
Don't worry, it will come. It will come. Let's start with our first story this morning. And ratings agency Moody's has downgraded Ghana's long-term issuer and senior unsecured debt ratings to CAA1 from B3, and that has changed the economic outlook. Of course, they have changed the economic outlook to stable from negative. In fact, pardon me, I'm reading the wrong one. So as it stands now, that is what happened in February this year, 5th of February. And months down the line, they've come back again. And in fact, this time around, they have downgraded Ghana's economy further within junk status. So it says here that Moody's has downgraded Ghana's long-term issue and senior unsecured debt ratings to CAA2 from CAA1 and placed the ratings on review for downgrade. And it said it reflects the recent macroeconomic deterioration, further heightening of the government's liquidity and debt sustainability difficulties and increasing the risk of default. We have a story on this. Let's quickly take a look at this and we'll come back and discuss.
According to Moody's, despite Ghana's tightening of monetary policy in response to the global price shock, inflation continues to rise from high levels and the currency has been under very significant pressure. Combined, a sharp rise in interest rates, high inflation, and a rapidly weakening currency exacerbates the government's debt challenges. Without external support, the government's policy levers to arrest a worsening macroeconomic backdrop and heavier debt burden are extremely limited. The government's small revenue base, largely and increasingly absorbed by interest payments, further intensifies the policy dilemma between competing objectives, including servicing debt while meeting essential social needs. As a result, the risk of an eventual default has increased. The initiation of the review for downgrade is prompted by the ongoing negotiations between the government and the International Monetary Fund over a funding program that may include a condition for debt restructuring to ensure debt sustainability. Such a restructuring would likely be considered a distressed exchange and thereby a default under the ratings agency's definition. The review will evaluate the likelihood of a debt restructuring being a prerequisite to secure sufficient and durable financing from official sources to avert a fiscal and balance of payment crisis that is already unfolding.
And just about 2 weeks ago, Fitch had also downgraded Ghana to CC. And so on the back of that, and the fact that they were talking about the fact that with the negotiation with the IMF, we're likely to get into debt restructuring and high debt service financing constrained and all of that. That was the reason why we were downgraded. And then now we're also being downgraded by Moody's. It doesn't look too good for us as a nation. But clearly, we know why we have gotten here. But is there something that can be done about it? Bernard, I'll start with you. The ratings just keep coming in and we keep dipping further and further. What are we not doing right?
Good morning to you. Good morning to Adam, your many viewers across the globe. What are we not doing right? I think that the intransigence of the president and his team is the reason for which we have sunk this low in our economy. The day before yesterday, and I want to take this example, I saw the exchequer of the United Kingdom after they proposed a 45% tax cut, and there was uproar. Citizens said that it was not the way to go. Within the framework of less than 2 days, 3 days, the exchequer, in consultation with the Prime Minister, dropped the 45% tax cut for the upper class so that they can concentrate on other things. And I heard Liz Truss say that they needed to have done better consultation and explanation of what they meant by the 45%, so that they can elicit citizens buy-in. What is the story in Ghana? Anytime government brings up a policy option and citizens decide that, look, we have looked into the policy option, given our current economic quagmire, that is not the way to go about it. The response we get is a spat in our faces that keep quiet, because we have been entrusted with the duty to run the affairs of this country. Whether we are running it aground or afloat, you have to keep silent. We have taken sometimes drastic. You know, when you finish talking and nothing is happening, you go to manifest in public demonstrations and what have you. The response has been to unleash the security forces on us, to brutalize us in the most merciless and inhumane manner, simply because we are calling that the policies that the government is bringing are not going to save our nation. And so when we find ourselves with such kind of cotton wool ears, it is difficult for you to think that we can come out of this situation, because the government is simply not listening to the citizens and the policy options. On the things that will lead us into this dish, I am surprised that today they are listening to. And you look at some of the people that came from the IMF. Adam, permit me. Adam is older than some of them. Young people. And yet, when we speak, you say that we have left our beard overgrown, and then we are carrying coconut heads.
But you're not part of those people he was referring to, are you?
But I'm carrying a coconut head.
Are you?
Yes.
I see.
Particularly that I belong to the coconut fraternity. You understand? We speak, and then the response we get is an insult, an attack on us. All the solutions that the IMF is proposing, our professors, our experts brought about these things. They spoke about them eloquently and warned that if certain actions were not taken, we will run into this dish. However, and somehow, they did not listen to us. So when we are in this mess, and sometimes I think that the communication is even terrible.
How?
I listened to the Minister for Finance, and I was like, okay, I don't know political communication much, but this is a terrible political communication. Everyone knows that our country has reached a junk status. You, the Minister for Finance, come to tell us that the crisis in which we find ourselves, we cannot extricate ourselves in the next 3 years. And you are looking for money. That we will not be able to go into the international capital market to go and get anything. What you are telling the whole of the world is that, look, don't think about anything good in the country. Yet you are the same person telling us that, look, it was Fitch. First it was Standard & Poor's. When they downgraded us, the minister decided to run a long thesis. And when he finished writing the long thesis, the president followed suit, went to the AU and some other conferences, and launched an attack on the rating agencies and said that Africa doesn't have its own rating agencies and that we should be cautious of the rating agencies. Now, when you do that, you are running down their reputation, right? Ab initio, it means that you want to run down the reputation of these credit agencies. Yet these are the same credit agencies that the president, when in opposition, the vice president, when in opposition, will use their ratings and come and make, and you can play some of the videos, and come and give reasons why the rating agencies are right. So yesterday, the rating agencies were right about their predictions and ratings of the country. But when you are in the saddle today and they are doing the same ratings that you used to bastardize the previous administration and the economic policies that they were putting in place, you are saying that those rating agencies are not of Africa, and therefore their ratings cannot be seen to be sacrosanct.
I mean, is it wrong to call for an African rating agency?
I have no problem, but these are the rating agencies that time ad infinitum you were relying on. So if you are calling for an African rating agency, there is no doubt about it, because I'm calling for an African currency. And Kwame Nkrumah called for an African currency before. You understand? So all of us are calling for an African currency, an African central bank, an African printing, currency printing, and what have you. So if you want to make that call, you make that call independent of your unwarranted attacks on the current regime. That is where the problem lies. And so you went there and you took a swap on them. And then when you swiped on them, you went to the UN recently. And of these 4 challenges that has led Ghana into this, according to President Akufo-Addo, or probably 5. There are 5, and all of them are external. They are exclusive for Akufo-Addo and his government's doings. 1 has to do with COVID-19. 2 has to do with Russia invasion of Ukraine. 3 had to do with the Sahel terrorist attacks, and that all the neighboring countries in Ghana have been affected. If they have been affected, is Ghana affected?
No, we're told that it's imminent.
It's imminent, it's not affected. Let's pray. Since they are saying that it's imminent, they should pray for it to happen. I don't pray that it should happen, so I don't see any eminence in that.
Should we wait till it happens, or we take precautions and prevent it from coming?
You have
We
not even
haven't
been
introduced
welcomed
you.
this issue. You have not been
We haven't
welcomed to
been
the show.
introduced
And,
you yet.
comfortable.
On that note, you are welcome.
But I just pronounced that my slave beat him in the constitution.
So we'll introduce him and see if he's going to
And he wants to
you
come
know,
back. I don't know what you are
agree that
coming
maybe he should take a step back and allow.
No, he should just allow my
Anyway.
lady to.
Please carry on it.
How many times do you want to ask me that question?
Hold on. Well, we'll
But
come
when
to
you
that. Hold
decide
on.
to
We'll come to that.
intrude at the time you are not needed, why would they not ask you that question? So when you go and talk about the Sahel and all the things that have happened in your neighboring countries, but for Ghana, it has not happened here. Then you go further to talk about the rating agencies. So 4. And the final one is to blame the NDC and John Mahama for the things that they did 6 years down the line, that you are telling us that it is what the NDC did that is responsible for your inability to resuscitate the economy. There is something wrong, not only with our president, but with those who write the speeches for him. Because you yourself is not admitting, and then, they say that first remove the log in your eye before you can remove the speck in your other person's eye. There is a log that is blocking you. The mess you caused in this country. Everybody told you that the way you were going about this banking sector cleanup was wrong. Did Russia-Ukraine come and tell you that you should do the kind of things you did? You messed up and bastardized the economy. We told you that that was wrong. When you were even going to bring about the issues of COVID-19, we told you that, look, the measures you were taking were transient, but they were going to have direct consequences on us. You did not listen. You ended COVID-19 forgetting that it is not only the state of Ghana that is affected, that businesses were heavily impacted by COVID-19 and they are trying to recover. Then you come and place taxes on them, COVID-19 taxes, and you are asking them to pay, and you don't know that you are suffocating and sinking the businesses further
They said
down.
they had to find money to pay for the vaccines that came in, which is why
We
the
bought any
COVID
vaccine?
levy. Well, the COVID levy,
we
we're
bought-
told that
we
a
bought
part
any
of
vaccine?
it is going to be used
Now tell me which vaccine we bought.
to get the vaccines
Bella,
that
help
we had.
me. Help me. That Ghana bought any COVID vaccines. The ones who were to buy were the Sputnik overinflated that the minister's senses took leave of him. Yes, I didn't say that. The minister said that his senses took leave
He
of
was
him.
not in his right senses.
His senses took leave of him. And under normal circumstances, when you are a minister and your senses are no longer functioning properly, it means that you are mentally incapable. The constitution is clear
Okay.
that we should deal with that issue. And yet President Akufo-Addo went to Doma to go and say that why some people are making noise that he should remove the Minister for Health. The man who publicly and admitted to Parliament that at the time he was signing this contract, where publicly, officially, Russia and Sputnik had announced that nobody should buy the vaccine above $10. You were buying it at $19. And then when they asked, and they say, don't deal with third parties, you were dealing with a third party. That is the man, the president said that we are making noise for him to sack. We sat in this country. We told you that it was needless to do a new voters register. You sank so much money into a new voters register. You see the recklessness of this government. And so you land us into this heavy ditch. You see, I sent some videos to Daniel.
Okay.
And it was about Thomas Sankara in 1987. The producer.
Our producer. Well, he's working on them. He has to review
No,
them
I've not
first.
even asked him.
He has to review them first.
Yeah, I've not asked him.
Okay.
And in the videos, the things that are confronting us today, Thomas Sankara pontificated them. He said the debt that we owe is a colonial reconquest. And that those who colonized us and took the best out of Africa have gone to get their brothers, their sisters, and cousins to come in the form of multilateral institutions and bilateral institutions to inflict Africa with debts. And at the stage that it has reached, the African Union, then Organization of Africa Union, must take a decision that, look, we cannot pay the debt because the debt is a colonial debt and that it is blood money. And that any president that was willing to say that they will not sign that agreement, they can jump into the next available plane and go to the IMF and World Bank and go and pay their loans. Thomas Sankara said that.
Okay. Please
So
land for
we
me.
as Africans must sit down and look at this thing holistically. Because the institutions that took everything and the countries that took everything from Africa, after they have become wealthy, have turned around to form these institutions. And where we sit now, I don't know how Ghana is even going to, because we are not borrowing any longer from these institutions. We are borrowing from individuals and the capital market. And so you cannot say that it is Britain, but you have gone to borrow at the capital market. Now your finance minister says that we cannot. You know,
Please
if you look at
land on this for me, so I
the
can bring
Moody's
it in.
ratings, they have reduced us to CAA2, with a further possibility of a further downgrade.
Yeah.
That means that we may end up at D. And I don't feel comfortable. But if our president claims that Kwatin in the UK is a Ghanaian and comes from his stock,
Not
and,
just stock.
and is excited,
Not just stock, but his stock.
his stock,
He's a Ghanaian.
and comes from his
Kwesi
stock,
Kwarteng.
and comes from his stock,
Please
His-
land for me so Isa and
The
Adam
president's
can
stock,
also
not
get to
Bernard
speak.
I said
Monet's
he's a Ghanaian.
Isa,
Why
please
is he
allow him
Ghanaian?
to land so that you can also
Oh, wow.
Isa Husseini.
speak. Anyway, you let me bring Isa in.
No, I've not finished.
Well-
He just cut me, and you want me to
Time
just
is
stand.
running.
So
We need to manage
if
the time, so please land with me.
Kwesi Kwarteng
General Mona.
is of any use, I think that one of the lessons he has taught Akufo-Addo, the Minister for Finance, is to eat humble pie and admit that citizens cannot always be wrong.
Okay.
They are admitting that, look, their proposals to overcome the economic difficulties of Britain and the United Kingdom is not what the citizens want. You see that things have relaxed? Do they have any lessons to learn? I think they should.
Issa, you're welcome again.
Thank you, Bella.
And I hope you're well.
But Grace is keeping us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll let you jump in on this because, I mean, we wake up to news of being downgraded further. 2 weeks after Fitch had also downgraded us. And in this case, we're actually in junk status. That is even more problematic. We've been getting these downward reviews from these rating agencies. Moody's also reviewed us downwards early this year. What did we do to try and prevent this, and why are we still getting this kind of status?
Let me say good morning to you, a good morning to Bernard, and a good morning to Adam, and a good morning to your viewers as well. Not forgetting the good people of Okakwinov. This morning, we are back to this cycle of downgrades. For me, the S&P, Fitch, Moody's, they are the same stock. So, and they operate basically on the same information. So when it happens, I mean, it's not and it should be expected because look, we are not in normal times. And I was happy that Bernard was enumerating the challenges that this government is hard to contend with. He went on to enumerate them.
No, President enumerated them.
Further on, there are other global pressures, which Ghana is not extricated from. We are part of a global community.
Okay.
I'll put you in a perspective, right? We are experiencing a period where we have some macroeconomic instability. If you look at our exchange rate, if you look at inflation, if you look at our growth rates and all of that. But it's not unique to Ghana. Even if you look at advanced economies who have a very good sort of reserves that will cushion them when some of these things happen, you'll be amazed at what is happening. I was also happy that he was mentioning the case of the UK, Kwesi Kwarteng, and what he has had to endure in the last couple of days. In 2022, the pound sterling has lost 20% of its value. Now the dollar is more valued than the pound sterling. In 2022, the yen is depreciated by 20%. In 2022, the euro is depreciated by 15%.
The CD has depreciated by 40%.
40%. 40%. The changes.
Why are you lying?
The changes. The difference.
50%.
No, well,
the difference.
it says 40%.
The difference is that these economies who have, like I said earlier, some sort of reserves to cushion them, are able to withstand some of these pressures. And why is this so? The dollar is appreciated by 15%. The dollar is appreciated by 15% in this year. We are caught up in a situation where our debt levels has been problematic. And when we find ourselves in a situation like we are today, it even worsens it. Even when you have not borrowed, how does it worsen your situation? Now look at the exchange rate. For us to make our interest repayments or for us to meet our debt obligations, it means that we need more cedis to be able, because all of these obligations are, in fact, about half of our public debt is in dollar terms. And so it's even more difficult, even when we have not borrowed. Even when we have not borrowed. Today you hear the public debt is ballooning, even when you have not borrowed, just because the exchange rate is a problem. Your public debt in cedi terms balloons when you have not borrowed.
But what's the reason?
The reason is that because of inflationary pressures across the global economy.
The global economy and
yes.
not locally, because we're told that when it comes to our issue of inflation,
we are not,
it's
food
because we
yes.
are constantly importing.
When food inflation.
You have
is
asked the
highest.
question. Let me explain.
Okay.
Globally,
But if you are
the
jumping
global
around,
economy,
we'll allow you.
the global
please allow
economy
him.
is experiencing inflationary pressures. So the U.S. increases its interest rates. It becomes attractive. So across the world, not just Ghana, investors are withdrawing their investments and investing in the U.S. What it then means is that when you withdraw your investment in Ghana in cedis, you still need to convert it to dollars. And because more dollars are leaving, it puts a lot of pressure on the cedi. And so the cedi depreciates. Simple. And for an economy or a country like us, who are import dependent, means that any depreciation of the cedi will be felt right on our tables, because virtually most of the things that we consume, we need dollars to buy them from somewhere else. So it means that our situation is even worse than other countries. The withdrawal of the domestic investments for people to invest in the U.S. is happening across the globe. For us, the second stage is where we need the dollars to be able to import rice. We need the dollars to be able to import sugar. Thank God, Commander is almost on stream, and when Commander starts, we'll be able to cut down substantially.
It took quite a long time, and even that.
We are there.
Even that. The president told us it was going to start operating in April.
It took a long
It didn't
time.
start.
It took a long time, but we are there. So we have had to contend with two stages of what is happening globally.
How come the
Worst of
other
it.
countries are not as badly affected as we
Who
are?
says?
They
Says
are not.
who?
How
Says
is
who?
it that in Africa
I have sat
we
here.
move from
I
having
have sat here. I
the
have
most
sat-
valued currency
I have
to
sat
the
on this
worst
platform.
performing currency out of 30
I have
top performing
sat
currencies.
on this
And you're
platform
talking
and
about
said
the
that-
global impact?
I have sat on this platform and said that we are feeling this impact because of policy choices we have made as a people.
Okay.
In 2015, 2016, we decided that when it comes to pricing of our local fuel, we're going to go the route of the market forces determining the price, deregulation. We decided. So the impact that will have on us is that whenever our currency or the global prices of crude oil changes, it affects our domestic prices.
Because of
at the pump.
deregulation.
Yes, because of
policy.
deregulation. Because the
And
market
not
forces
because
are
of the
determining it.
taxes, the many taxes that were placed on it that they are
If
asking
you
to
look,
take off.
if you look at the percentage of taxes on the fuel, I mean, because fuel prices are going up, it is negligible. Either two people
It
will
is.
say, people will tell you that it's about 40%. Now it's even below 20%.
So why are you not willing to take them off? If the drivers are saying take it off,
Why
and you're saying it's
the
negligible,
drivers are saying we should
why
take
are you
it
not
off?
taking off?
Government will have to meet its obligations. Government has to pay public sector workers. Government has to make sure that this country runs. And if our already dwindling revenues, you are telling us to be even cut off some of these things, then you are telling us that the country needs to come to a crash. That's the reality of it. That is the reality of it.
They don't need to run.
This is the reality of it. I mentioned policy choices that we have made. Deregulation is one of them. And what is happening in our neighboring countries? These are francophone countries, about 14 of them, in a monetary union. I tell you, their CFA is pegged to the euro, and their reserves are managed from France. Before we went into this deregulation policy, just like we're doing as well, we could fix prices. And government would decide that, oh, the currency is depreciated. International crude prices have risen. But I am not going to push the effect onto the Ghanaian, the Ghanaian consumer. And so I was going to take a section. And what did we do? We built mountains of debt over time.
At the time,
That is
you had
what-
told us that we were not going to rely on foreign aid. We're going to find a way to
I am
raise the money ourselves.
talking pre-2015 when the regulation came in.
No, but that's what I'm saying. That so your promise to us was that when you come in, we were going to have a Ghana beyond aid because we're going to rely
Certainly,
on
and we have not
production.
derailed from that.
We haven't.
We haven't derailed from that. It is true. The reality is that, just like Bernard enumerated, we are faced with challenges that we couldn't envisage. We couldn't have envisaged in 2017 or 2016 that COVID was going to hit us.
What he said is that
we had known that there were problems due to. We had known.
Where we are, hold on, Issa. He says that your government has always said that everything that's happening to us is as a result of external factors, and never have they said that it is.
But nobody's telling us that those external factors are real. Are unreal. Nobody's telling us that those external.
Where we are.
How can we take responsibility for COVID?
You are still blaming
how can we take responsibility for what the NDC did that caused us to spend 25 billion in cleaning our financial sector?
It's NDC's fault that
if they had been responsible, if they had been responsible in government. If they had been responsible in government, we wouldn't have had to spend that 25 billion to fix the financial sector.
Then you're a poor government if you're saying this.
How are we a poor government?
To come in and fix the problem.
Yes.
And 6 years down the line, you are still blaming the previous government.
In fixing the problem, we couldn't have envisaged that this whole Sahel region security is going to be a huge issue, like the president said at the UN. Now it's even gone beyond. How is that
leading to the depreciation of the city?
Because now we've had to look for more money to spend on our security. We have to look for more money to spend on our security. And if our government revenues are dwindling and we still have to maintain secure borders to ensure that what is happening in other countries. A couple of days ago, Burkina Faso experienced a war, a coup d'etat.
That is the third.
In a year. A third in a year. That's how turbulent the Sahel region is. You go to Burkina Faso, even prior to it's a reality we are facing.
No,
it is a reality government is facing.
I'm trying to connect.
The connection is that we have to spend in multiples to secure our borders to ensure that whatever instability is happening in the Sahel region, it is not brought into Ghana. That's the reality.
So you are borrowing because even though you promised that you weren't going to borrow, there were external factors.
No government said, and nobody said that we're not going to borrow.
You said Ghana beyond aid.
At no point.
So what did you mean by that?
Aid and borrowing is different. We've always for a while, we have always.
Hold on, please. Please.
No, Bernard,
hold on, please allow.
Bernard, allow me to make my point.
If you can find that video of the president saying Yetisikaso and so accommodate, please.
Of course.
Because I don't understand how the president says we have all the money. We come into power and now we're saying that we didn't have the money, so we had to go and borrow.
Oh, of course. I am telling you that at the time, we couldn't have envisaged that there was going to be a virus that was going to cost us 12 billion in this country.
So what was that statement
but you started borrowing before the virus
based on? Exactly. And
but
what was that statement
borrowing is part of government, normal government business.
So you knew you were going to borrow anyway?
Of course. Borrowing,
yet you told Ghanaians that you were going to build the Ghana beyond aid.
No government on earth that's not borrow. It is part of normal governance and normal physical.
You should have been honest to Ghanaians about that then.
Nobody said we're never going to borrow.
Nobody said
we're never going to borrow.
We'll try and find that video. Okay.
Nobody said that we're never going to borrow. It is not written anywhere.
Okay.
And nobody said that we're never going to borrow.
Adam, please come in for me.
Well,
it's
Bella,
my brother.
Leadership is essentially about accepting responsibility and using your skills, your knowledge, and your team to solve problems. As we speak today, since 2017, Ghana is dealing with a crop of leaders who always blame everyone but themselves for the challenges that we are confronted with. Bella, I'm not surprised this morning that the Honorable Issa Fuseni is giving all sorts of reasons for the challenges that we face. He has just added 2 new ones. Policies by President Mahama in 2015, 2016, and what is happening in Burkina Faso or the Sahel region and all of that. Clearly, the NPP and the managers of our economy have proven to be clueless. They have no ideas how to navigate the country out of our economic challenges. Bella, prior to 2016, all these rating agencies, Moody's, S&P, these were the songs on the list of President Akufo-Addo, then candidate Akufo-Addo, and Dr. Bawumia. And all of a sudden, their analysis, their ratings, their reports and outlooks, government is refusing to accept them as the true reflection or the true picture of the economy. Bella, all these Moody's rating points to the fact that we have, you choose to call it junk status. But to the ordinary Ghanaian out there, if I'm to put it more simply, it is that Ghana's economy is now baller. And even within the junk status, we are going deeper. So when you get to a landfill site, you get to a baller, the deepest part, you see the part that smells, the part where you cannot withstand for even a second, that is where Ghana's economy has been pushed to by President Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia. But
to be fair, Moody's did say that the reason why they're downgrading, one of them is the fact that we're yet to agree on a deal with IMF. And
it's not even about IMF. I will come there. Bella, I'll get there. Now, when you look at the Moody's ratings, for long-term ratings like this one, we have 9 levels. For the 9 levels, they are divided into 3 classifications. And for each classification, the alphabet A, B, and C are assigned. For category A, we also have some numerical modifiers that are attached to it. 1, 2, and 3. And so we have A, and A. Then in the B category, you are looking at economies that, yes, there may be challenges, but they still have some capacity or they still show some positive outlook. Now, we were downgraded from B to C. And even within the C category, we have been further downgraded to CAA2. What it means is that we are getting to the very bottom of the ladder. And when we get there, we are comparing our situation to Sri Lanka.
We are not getting there.
But we are getting there because
we won't get there.
Economics, finance thrives on trends. Now, all these challenges that we are facing today, these are things that the NDC and other experts warned the government about. We advise them to pursue economic reforms and restructuring to avert the situation. But they told us that they had a Wale Adam Smith, they had people who have accumulated experience on Wall Street and what have you. And yet those are the people that are running the economy into the ditch. And as we speak today, we are the deepest part of the bottom in the baller.
They said they are not the ones who are running down the economy. You run down the economy and now they're struggling to
I have said that if after 6 years of being at the helm of affairs, managing this country, you still have the guts to blame the previous government, you are very useless government. Useless.
Are you not being too harsh?
I am not being harsh because the people of Ghana went to the polls in 2016 and voted for you because you preached a certain message. You told them that you knew that there was money at the Bank of Ghana. Dr. Bawumia said, I have worked at the Bank of Ghana before and the money is there. President Akufo-Addo, Yetisikasu, and I come there. We will not borrow. All the things that they said. President, you see, I am even surprised and it is disappointing that you sit here, you even greeted your people in Okankwe North and you proceeded to lie that President Akufo-Addo or Dr. Bawumia never said that they will not borrow.
Yes,
go and
it is not a lie. It is not a lie. Once you invite me there, I will respond to you. I will respond to you. Once you invite me in there, I will respond to you. I did not. I said, and I stand by it.
I'll give you the chance to speak. I understand.
At no point.
You were telling me when you were speaking, you were not interjecting.
You said a lot of lies, but I kept quiet.
No,
he's calling me a liar. When you call me a liar, I won't sit here for him to call me a liar.
You will get your turn.
I won't sit here for him to call me a liar. I am not lying.
You will get
I am not lying because I won't sit here.
No problem. Allow Ghanaians to judge. Let me make a statement.
Yes,
in your dreams.
Issa, please.
In your dreams.
You kept lying. Allow me to.
You can't keep doing this to us, please.
prior to the 2012 elections, candidate Akufo-Addo at the IEA debate told the people of Ghana that any economy where the debt to GDP ratio is more than 56%, the managers of the economy was mismanaging the economy, and that when he comes, he will not borrow. The records are there. And so when you sit here, you look into the face of the people of Ghana, and you say that the President Akufo-Addo and Bawumia never said they will not borrow. I am very disappointed. Very disappointed that people wake up, switch on their TVs to listen to us, and all you feed them are lies upon lies. Beyond that, Bella, what are the reasons that Akufo-Addo and his men have been ascribing to the economic challenges? They mentioned COVID. Bella, in 2020, when COVID struck the entire world, yes, COVID ravaged the global economy. No doubt about that. But Ghana got a lot of support from the IMF, from individuals, institutions, wherever. And in 2020, we exceeded our revenue target by 2.6 billion. The records are there. And so if COVID had an adverse effect on you, it's the first place where you check that is your revenue target. Is that not the case? Go and check the records from the GRA. In 2020, Ghana exceeded a revenue target by 2.6 billion. And you still sit and you tell the people that COVID is the reason why we are in these challenges. Please, let's have some respect for the good people of Ghana. Secondly, Bella, they talk about the global economy. Now, we have many other countries in the world. And when you check the Moody's rating, some countries had their economies reviewed upwards. As we speak today, before even Russia, Ukraine, Ghana's economy or Ghana's foreign currency was not among the worst performing in the world. But due to poor mismanagement, is it that Ghana, is it Ghana that Russia has invaded or what? That you are looking for reasons to blame everybody but yourselves. I have said, time without number, Bella, that our challenge is not even about revenue mobilization.
What is it?
It is about expenditure management. As we speak today, we are dealing with a problem of $100 million diverted from the petroleum funds and spent without parliamentary approval. This is the fiscal indiscipline that President Akufo-Addo, his cousin, the finance minister, and head of economic management, Dr. Bawumia, continues to give the people of Ghana. This
but there's a call to investigate and, of course, bring those people to justice. At least that is a
and so they are not doing it. Have you checked the Auditor General's report? All of these things are the reasons. And they continue to blame everybody. Look, where we are today, we are in deep crisis as a country. And the earlier they accept responsibility and work on it, the better. Let me ask you, if Ken Ofori-Atta happened to be managing your company and he mismanages in such a way, right, that every rating agency continues to grade you or downgrade you, and everything shows that you have challenges, will you still maintain Ofori-Atta as the CEO of your company?
What would you have the president do?
You will sack him. But you see why the president can't sack him? There is a reason why the framers of the Constitution and the ancient political philosophers and ancient philosophers, when they were talking about various political concepts, they introduced something called conflict of interest. They introduced something called red tapeism. You know why? Nepotism. You know why? They saw a day like this coming. That because President Akufo-Addo...
They did that because of President Akufo-Addo?
No. President Akufo-Addo cannot sack Ken Ofori-Atta because
so that is the reason why. So they saw this day coming.
I'm saying that because they saw a day like this, where people in positions will appoint their family and friends and will not have the courage to sack them and ask them to do the right thing, and that is why those concepts were introduced.
The president said his people have been outstanding, which is why he would not even
the marks we are getting are the marks being given to us by S&P, by Moody's, by Fitch. And what marks are those? You have failed. You are in a baller status. And President Akufo-Addo is the only one that says everything right with this economy. That tells you how short-sighted our president himself is. Bella, where we are today, we are in deep crisis. And the earlier the government accepts responsibility, the better. Now,
all right.
These are the same people who told us that everything was right with the economy and that all that they needed to keep the economy afloat was the e-levy. We warned them that 6.9 billion estimated could not save the economy and that you needed proper economic management. On your show, I said it here, that what the government needed was e-sense and not e-levy. Some of them came after us. Few months after, they backtracked. The same IMF that they told that they will never go to, and that the IMF was loaded with small boys. They will not go before any small boy to dictate for them how to run the economy.
They said we had the resources.
They have gone back to the same IMF.
We're a blessed nation.
We're a blessed nation. We couldn't go. Well, we were the resources. Did Russia, Ukraine come and leave the resources away? So, Bella, where we are today is a serious situation.
Okay.
And I think that if President Akufo-Addo truly has any modicum of love for the people of Ghana, he should sack his finance minister, reshuffle the economic management team, and see if that can bring some iota of hope.
Okay.
Because, aside that, we are in a very hopeless situation with the kind of mismanagement that we see from them.
Well, so the concerns, and Moody's has said that at this point, the reason why we're also downgraded is because it looks as if our debt to GDP is going to go beyond the 100%, and we're going to use more than 60% of our revenue to service these debts. In the same vein, we've also just signed the cocoa syndication loan, and that would mean that we're receiving money from some banks to buy cocoa from our farmers and sell it to the international markets. Does this, in a way, sort of help the cedi to, get its value a little higher than it is at the moment? We'll come back and talk about that and see what can be done about all these other issues that are coming up. Keep watching. This is a biggie.